Well, it goes snug, but then one less. Yes. Say hi
Sure.
to Jesse.
People fine, right? People social?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Friendly. A little nervous around me.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Good. Not
Yeah.
too tight. Not like tucking in too much.
No, pretty good.
Okay.
So, who's going to work with him first?
You try.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get the remote. And color's powered on, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And
I caged it.
okay, so it's on.
Did it, yeah.
Excellent. And is that on as well?
This is yes.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move that dial. It's about 15 on top. Clockwise goes up, counterclockwise goes down. Yeah.
15, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
And if you land like 14, 16 type stuff, like if you're, near the number, it's fine.
Okay.
And yep, we're going to pass off. So I'm going to help you find what we call the working number.
Okay.
Did you get a chance to watch videos? You did? Awesome. So we have perception, we have connection, perception, and working. Right now, the working number might be different than the outside than it is inside. Okay. So it's really just common sense. If you're tapping and he's not listening, probably too low, go up. And if you're tapping and he's yelping, probably too high, you go lower. Okay. So here, when I say tap, we're going to take a look and we're going to watch him and we're going to look for any responses. Okay. So we're going to watch and tap. Tap.
What's the, sorry?
Oh, the bumpy one.
Okay.
Yeah. Tap. 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 No response. Let's go to 20.
So what would like a response be? Would it be a yelp? Because she does yelp when you have done that Amazon powered.
Sure, but that one it's a lot of punch
Okay.
for even lower levels. Okay. So tap. 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 No response. 25. If we see a twitch, the twitch means we have connection. And tap. Tap. That's fine. And tap. Tap. Okay, 30. Tap. 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 35. Tap. Oh, right there. It's okay. So that's 35. Let's go down to 30. And that can be surprise.
Okay.
Okay. Because it's like out of nowhere, so to speak.
Yeah.
And tap. It's okay. It's okay. Go down to 15. And tap. Okay. Wait a moment. Tap. Let's go down to 10. And tap. Wait a second. Tap. 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 15 again. Tap. Right there. Okay. So earlier 15 did nothing.
Right.
Then we go up, we hit 35, right? Then we go down to 30, big, so I go, okay, 15.
Right.
We're getting a reaction, but not as big, right? It's because initially she may have been feeling it, but wasn't aware of it.
Right.
So we keep going up, and eventually the dog goes, whoa, what was that? Okay, so it doesn't always mean physical discomfort. It's surprise, because she's not meant to have her muscle contracted, so it's kind of, she's being caught off guard. So if she were to, yelping doesn't always mean physical discomfort. It can mean surprise. It can mean if she's really amped up and being reactive, you're just adding more, so she's kind of vocalizing. So then we just, again, adjust to what she's giving us. So we're gonna start at 15, okay? So I'm gonna demonstrate the exercise, and then I'm gonna coach you through it. So I teach dogs to walk on the left. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do, Psylocke, right?
Yes.
Okay, so with Psylocke here, when she gets ahead of you, I didn't call you. When she gets ahead of you, I'm gonna say turn. When I say turn, you're gonna 180 to the right, like this, okay? She's gonna pass, I say turn, you're gonna 180 to the right, pass, 180, turn, 180 like that, okay? So always to the immediate right, always a sharp 180, okay? The next thing I'm gonna say is tap. So every time I say tap, that's one press of the button. So if I say tap, 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 that would be your rhythm. If I say tap, 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 that would then be your rhythm. We're gonna take those two things and we're gonna pair them together. So we have turn and tap. So then when you're walking, she's gonna pass you. I'm gonna say turn and tap, 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 Good girl. She's gonna pass you, turn, tap, 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 good, turn, tap, 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 good, okay? So we stop tapping as soon as we see that she's at our left side.
Okay.
The last thing I'm gonna say is pull to the left. So as you're walking, Psylocke might come over to your right side. You're gonna keep walking, pull to your left and tap until Psylocke goes from your right side over to your left side, okay? So I'll coach you through. There's gonna be a few more instructions, but those are the major or top three.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you give her a bit of slack here. Take up about maybe a foot of leash. And I'm gonna show you how to hold the leash correctly. All right. Huh?
As far as like the muscle, should she have the muscle on? Because I mean, pretty much all she does is she'll try to bite the leash and find that where her muscle is
Inhibits that.
inhibits that.
Sure.
So
In the beginning, I would advise, go ahead. It just eliminates, because as we add in pressure, it can frustrate a dog even more, that we might get a redirect, okay? So that having the muzzle on just kind of eliminates like, she can't get me, right? So it allows you to just kind of work with her more relaxed. And then as we advance, we'll find like, oh, she's good. She doesn't do that anymore. We don't need it, okay? So here with your leash, you're gonna take the handle, you're gonna go over your left thumb like this, okay? And then with the leash like this, you're gonna take up like about that much, and then you're gonna go over your finger. Yep, and then you're gonna clasp like this, and you're gonna relax. Okay, so what that does is it locks the leash. Okay, so like this, and then like this too, because with here, if she were to lunge randomly, she's not gonna pull that out of your hand, okay? If we do this, people have broken fingers. If we do this, this can happen. So that's the most secure hold. I call it the trainer hold. So it's a double lock system, you know? So like, let's say she's on her own time, you could let that go, but I would just hold it like this, okay? So with Psylocke here, oops, sorry. What we're gonna do is going to stand right next to her right. Yep, and bring that leash so it's on the inside. So just pull it in. There we go. Now relax. Now relax your arm like this. So you see the bottom of your leash is like a J?
Yeah.
You see that's how it's right by her armpit?
Yeah.
Okay, that's like the perfect length.
Okay.
It's enough slack to give Psylocke the ability to get ahead of you, but not too much that it's getting caught up in her legs. Okay, so it's a nice in between. So I'm gonna coach you through this. Don't worry about making mistakes, it's gonna happen.
Okay.
So here, go ahead and start walking. Just keep forward and turn, tap, tap, good. Turn, tap, 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 good. Keep forward, tap, and turn, tap, tap. And you can have a seat if you like. Turn, tap, 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 tap. Let's go to 18 on the collar. Tap forward, good. Turn, tap, tap, good. Keep forward. Good. Turn, tap, 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 tap. Good. Let's go 21. Tap forward. That's the bumpy one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and pivot inward so she's back on your left. And let's go to 18. And forward. Good. Good, slow turn. Good. Keep forward. Good. Keep forward. And slow turn. There we go, good. Go ahead and speed up a little. Good. Good, slow turn. Now slow walk, but keep forward. Keep forward, good. Going to pick up your speed. Tap, tap, tap. Going to slow turn. Good. Going to speed up a little bit. Tap. Let's go down to 12. And just turn to your right here. Yeah, like that, and forward. Good. Slow turn. Okay, good. Go and speed up. Does she have any food drive? Go and turn. Tap.
Not usually when we're
Tap.
walking.
Okay. Tap forward, tap,
But
tap, tap.
it's hard. I've only gotten her once take food out walking.
Slow turn. Okay. What about inside the house? What about inside? Inside?
Oh yeah, she loves it.
Okay. We're gonna see how she does with the collar.
Okay.
And turn. Good, tap. There you go, now slow walk. And stop. So she's definitely got, it might be connection, but that's oversensitivity, right? So on the 18 that I think we went to, right? Because she was at 15, it wasn't doing much. And when you went to 18, right, that big old reaction is,
I think 21.
oh, was it 21?
Yeah.
What we're gonna figure out this week is just as you work with her, we're gonna see how her comfort to the collar, if it gets better, okay? Because in the beginning, it's like, what is this? And this is where you want to use it as much as possible, because the more you expose her to it, the faster she gets over it, okay? What people tend to do is they see that reaction and they lay off, and they go, oh, I feel bad, right? And I'll adjust the number and stuff, but let's say she's being reactive, and 21 is making her vocalize, but she's still being reactive. It doesn't matter. Right? So just because she vocalizes to it doesn't mean she's in actual discomfort, because she's still willing to be reactive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So here, as you practice with her during the week, we're going to see if more exposure helps her kind of settle in on how she responds to the collar. If we see it's still too much of an aversion to it, we might have to pair food with the collar itself to see if it helps her kind of balance out a bit, okay? So now I'd most likely give you an inside exercise. And I would use high value stuff like chicken, bologna, turkey, cheese, whatever, as long as she doesn't have any allergies.
Yeah.
I personally, when I train, I use human food. I don't buy treats, okay? Because one, they say it tastes like, I've tasted treats, they taste like crap.
Sure.
I'm like, why would I give my dog something that tastes like bacon? I just buy bacon and like I can eat it too. You know what I'm saying? And she'll be more incentivized to want to take it from you. And we'll see if pairing the food with this helps her kind of get over that, okay? Because if she's being reactive and I have to go to 60, like I got to stop the behavior somehow, right? So what dictates the level of the collar is her response to everything. So let's say you're at 12 and she's walking at your side and she's just perfectly with you, you're good. We don't need to go higher. 12 is doing its job. But if like she's not listening and I go to 15 or 20, 25, whatever, but then she's vocalizing but she's still willing to pull, then even though she's vocalizing, she's still willing to do the behavior I don't want her to do, right? So it can go a number of different ways. So I wouldn't worry too much about the vocalization, okay? It's just a muscle contraction. She's just overly sensitive to it. And you said you tried another color on her before?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like an Amazon.
The cheaper ones? Yeah. So it's possible that it's just from before, just like the sensation of it or whatever, or how she felt it is maybe created some kind of association there. It's fine. I've worked with dogs where trainers completely use the collar wrong and we can recondition them. But in the beginning, we have to work through all that stuff. Because if you stop, she learns, hey, this behavior gets me them to stop, right? Or if you feel bad about it, she's gonna feel bad about it. Okay, so she's gonna go by your energy. So if you go, oh my God, Psylocke, it's time to train, right? And you're like, oh, I know, right? It's terrible. She's gonna go, well, if you don't like it, I don't like it, I mean, it's like if you were to ask me, like, how was the movie? And you're like, right? Like, right off the bat, you're going by the energy. You're like, oh, it must be a shitty movie, right? So same thing for Psylocke. So whenever you do this, you always want to be upbeat or indifferent, neutral. Feel free to pair food. collar, treat, put it on, treat, you know, grab it, treat, take it off, treat, just to create a positive association. But main thing is always just your energy. Okay, so if you come in negative, she's going to feel negative about it. Okay? Questions about any of that?
Yeah, so you mentioned about potentially pairing the food with the collar to help reinforce. Is that something for like the next time you should bring food here, or is that just...
Yeah, you can do it next time. Otherwise, if you bring it next time and she doesn't take it here, it's an easy explanation. Okay, now normally I don't pair food with the collar. I try to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
But if she's overly sensitive, then I'm going to try to balance it out to see how it works for her. Okay? But using food, like for instance with this exercise, is too complicated. So we'd work on something different that's easier so that you can get the concept down, and then we see how she does, and then from there we'll just kind of play it by ear. Okay? Other questions?
So should we try this indoors first without distractions, or should we try to go for a walk first?
Okay, so right off the bat we want to go outside.
Oh, okay.
Just go for a walk, right? So I'm going to teach you the concept, and then I'm going to give you your homework and how to apply it.
Oh, okay.
And then with reactivity, I'll kind of gauge where she's at. I might have you ignore reactivity this week,
Okay.
and we'll start on it the next time. Or if I feel like she's getting along well, then I'll give you some info on how to start addressing reactivity. And then during the week, if you try it out and you're like, man, this sucks, then I would say lay off and wait until you come back. Okay? Other questions?
So as we're going for a walk, if she is reacting to something, you increase it slowly, and then tap, tap, tap. And then as soon as she reacts to it, then you decrease it down?
So as soon as, kiwi. That's a long little stream of pee, yeah. So the reason why we went down lower earlier is because of her reaction.
Okay.
So if we get a big,
Yeah.
I go, that's typically too much, right? So I go down lower. So then at that 12, 15-ish, you can see her feeling it and like responding, but her not being overwhelmed. Okay? So if she's not listening, we're too low. If she's yelping, the assumption is we're too high.
Yeah.
Okay? But every now and then we might get a dog that's too sensitive. And again, what dictates if we're too high or not is what's her behavior after the fact. Exactly. Because if I tap her at 15 for reactivity and she stops reacting, she's quiet, we're good. But if she's still reacting and I go to 30 and I tap her and she yips, but then she keeps being reactive, well, 30 made her yip, but it didn't stop the behavior. So, it doesn't always mean it was enough. Because people tend to go by the sound. They're like, oh, the dog's yelping. And I'm like, yeah, but the dog's still lunging and barking. Because it also can just be the intensity of the moment that she's overwhelmed and it's more frustration. Okay?
In that scenario, would you then increase or would you keep it at 30?
It depends. So I increase, but in the beginning for the client, I go by how they feel. Because you're going to be unsure. Because you're like, is this right? Am I screwing her up? And then from 10 years of experience, you're not going to emotionally, psychologically, or physically screw up your dog. It's a muscle contraction, okay? So you can just knock that out of your head, because that's what most people are afraid of. Like, am I going to make my dog worse? I'm like, well, the dog already doesn't like dogs. So what are you going to make worse, right? Or I'm like, and you're not going to make the dog not like you because the dog doesn't know where it's coming from. Okay, so technically, yes, if I tap on 30 and she's still blowing up and being reactive, I would go 35 and then 40 and then keep going up. But if you feel like you're making it worse, or if it's not getting better, or if you're not sure, then I just tell people cap it, look at what your number was, and then just maintain the situation and let it happen, okay? And then try again the next time, or don't do anything, avoid reactivity, come back and ask or tell me, and then I'll see what's going on, okay? So here, give a tap. It's okay. And that's at what number?
12.
12. It's okay. So here, the reason why I had you give that tap, one, I wanted to see her response. Okay. So that 12 got a pretty big response from her, right? But I wanted to see what she was going to do in response to this, because she was starting to stare at the dogs. So that tap was to tell her, don't stare at the dogs. Let's go down to 8 here. Yeah. And we're going to have to just bypass a lot of this stuff, okay?
So then, I just want to make sure. So it's like the collar is for her to focus on you, not to punish her so much for I guess it's like,
How does it?
if she was laying down and just, I mean, she's staring because she stares.
But she was staring at the dogs.
Oh.
So yeah,
okay.
so here, collar does two things.
Yeah.
It can teach her what to do, and it can teach her what not to do. You have both.
Yeah.
Okay? When we're teaching what to do, we have to do more. So right now we're teaching Psylocke to walk at your left side. So that's why you have to turn and tap, and then use your leash if she went to the wrong side. You're doing more to get her to figure out what to do. Okay? Right there, all I cared about was that she stopped looking at the dogs. Does that make sense? So then we just did the singular tap. So think of the tap, think of the button as a bite on the button. Every time you press it, you're nipping or you're biting at Psylocke in different degrees. 0 to 127 is your range, right? So you can really fine tune it. So right there at 12, because remember, she was doing that for like 5 minutes. That rah, could have been complete surprise, right? Or it can be sensitivity, okay? But again, exposure, we got to figure out what it is. But right there, I just wanted to go, how is this going to impact you right now with you staring at the dogs, okay? Because I'm trying to also get information for reactivity, okay? Because reactivity is going to be the same but worse, because she's going to be blowing up and everything, okay? Other questions?
And then with her heel tucked,
Don't worry about that.
hands in and shaking a bit.
Don't worry about it.
Is it just
She's just excited right now, babe, and we're shocking her. Stop.
So you got to let it go,
I know.
because this is an aversive. I was raised old school, I was spanked. I did not walk away from spanking happy, okay? So right now, because what I would call your dog is an emotionally weak dog, okay? So dogs toughen each other up by physicality. They nip and bite each other, okay? So when people get puppies, they don't do that with their puppies. So when they have an insecure, nervous, fearful, anxious puppy, they don't do physicality, and most people don't do physicality anyways. The puppy is weak, right? But if you left that puppy with its litter and its mom and its dad and stuff, they would nip at each other and bite each other, and they toughen each other that way. So physicality is good. It just has to be applied correctly. Okay, so right here, when you're nipping and biting at her, you're giving her what she's not had before, but she's weak. So even though that we're at 8 to 12, right, which is like my Chihuahua's levels, you can see just how apprehensive she is. But the more you expose her to this, the tougher she gets. Okay, tougher in a good way. Confidence in a good way. Not confidence in like, oh, I'm confident enough, I'm gonna attack this dog. It's confidence in dealing with life and the stresses of life. Okay, I see that stuff all the time. So let's go ahead, we're gonna start moving now. Hey Bree, would you text Corey? He's back if he can watch Azula. You're gonna start walking forward. Good, and then slow turn. Good turn. Go ahead and speed up a little. And good. Now slow turn.
Her being behind him.
It's her being cautious. Pull to your left, tap. Good. Tap, tap, tap. Let's try 10 in slow turn. Good. Tap, tap. There she goes. Tap. See how she perks up right there?
Yeah.
Go ahead and slow turn.
So what does that mean?
Well, when she's moving, she perceives the collar differently. She's not perceiving it like one tap, tap. There we go. That's better. Correct. Go ahead and slow turn. There you go. Good. Pull to your left. Tap. Good. And then relax. Good. Forward. Good. Yeah, so when she's stationary, she's perceiving it a little bit different than when she's moving, which is good. And slow turn. Good. And what we're going to do here is when you come back around, you're going to hit the white wall. You're going to turn, wide turn, and you're going to walk real close to the pen. Okay? Tap. Good. Hey, Bree. Good. Tap. Right. Now slow walk, but keep forward. Keep forward. Tap. 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 Good. There you go. Going to pick up pace. And turn. Yeah. It's okay. Keep forward. Good job. Good. And same thing, you're going to walk real slow right by that pen. And slower here, but keep forward. Better. Yep. Good. Now pick up pace. Slow turn. Good. Go ahead and speed up. Good. And slow turn. Good. Tap. Now slow walk. And stop. And you're going to take your leash and bring it so that the ring is on the inside. There you go. Yeah, perfect. And then relax. Excellent. Good. So here, do you know why I had you do that?
Just to make sure she was ignoring the dog?
Yeah, see what she would do, right? Because I'm trying to find opportunities to use the remote.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the first time you passed by, Kristen here, she started to like go, Mom, right? And as you're tapping, she left you and came to his hip.
Sure.
So I'm trying to see or test, are you getting the concept? And the concept is when you feel this, you come here.
Sure.
Okay. So that's the whole purpose of the turnarounds. So typically when people, try to teach the heel, is they'll yank the dog or pull the dog back and go, no, heel, right? And they'll walk, dog pulls, and they'll yank them, no, heel. They keep doing that. And the dog, you'll see the dog too, they'll look at the human and they're like, what was that for? But they can't decipher because you're going the same direction.
Sure.
So here, when we apply pressure or a correction, it has to be obvious for the dog what to do instead, okay? So when she's getting ahead of you, you're going the opposite way. So for Psylocke, she feels this. She goes, hey, I don't like this. She turns around. Oh, Dad's going that way. She catches up. It disappears. Okay? So then she passes again. You turn. The tapping starts. Oh, now he's going that way. It disappears. So she's learning when I feel this, it's communicating to me. Okay, so right now with her, that's why I said we're going to give it a week to see how she does. Because once she starts to understand that, oh, this thing isn't something to freak out about. It's communicating to me, right? But she has to have a very clear distinction or a very kind of obvious response of like, oh, when I'm away from Dad, it goes off, but when I'm at his side, it goes away, right? So here, once we got that down a couple of times, then I said, okay, now we're going to use what we have here. So when you came by and you were passing by Kristen, she started to go and you tapped, and she started to disengage and then just walked right to your leg. That was her getting the concept, okay? So when Psylocke is going sideways of you or lagging, you simply tap because you're already going the opposite way, right? Because if she's over here, she still has to come here. It's when she passes you that you'd have to turn and tap to bring her to your side, okay? And your turns were correct. When you're doing, so there was two types of turns we were doing. We were doing the abrupt turns, which were these, okay? And then I started saying slow turn. Why did I say slow turn?
Just to see if she'll follow your hip.
Correct. Because I started to see Psylocke was getting the concept of walking with you. So the slow turn, I'm not the slow turn, the abrupt turn is when she's not at your side. The slow turn is to give her the opportunity to walk at your side, right? So then we walk slowly, you do your turn, she's there, we don't need to do anything, and then we can pick up our pace, okay? So we're trying to teach her that, again, this is a conversation, not just something that happens randomly. So I had a client that signed up back last year, and she trained the dog herself. She trained the dog herself, but she trained him on continuous, which is, as long as she holds it down, it goes off, and like on 100, okay?
Oh my God.
And she was like, he was very similar. So like when I started working with her, my assumption was she was using the neck function because she had already done training. And he kept yelping and yelping and yelping, right? And then like he just wasn't learning anything. And I was like, are you using Nick or continuous? And she's like, oh, I'm using continuous because he's so crazy. I'm like, no. We're going to stop that, and we're going to go to Nick, and we're going to make some changes. And I was like, do this for a week. She came back, and he was like 75% calmer, okay? Because the way she was applying it, his brain couldn't decipher. Because she was doing the punishment to bring him back here, and he's like, yo, what is this for, right? So once we made it obvious, and she was turning and tapping, and he was coming here, he started to go, oh, this is a communicator now. Now I understand how it turns on and how it turns off. That he started to relax and he was less vocal, okay? So here, that's what we're trying to do here as well with Psylocke. Expect your number when you're outside to not be 8, okay? It might be lower in that range, but don't be surprised if it's higher, okay? So here, when you go outside, what you would start off with is a potty break. You'd have her set up, call her on and everything, let her pee and poop first, get that out the system, okay? Then you're gonna start the healing process, okay? I'm sorry, well first then you're gonna find your working number and then you're gonna start the healing process, okay? So don't assume that 8 was perfect here and to start at 8 and start walking. It's gonna be more complicated for you to differentiate, okay? So what I do is if Psylocke is there on the grass and I'm tapping her 8, 12, 16, 20, boom. And on 20, you'll probably just see her do that. Because that's what she learned today. Yeah. Walk in my left side. So I go, okay, 20 got me a very obvious response. So I'm gonna assume 20 is the working number, okay? Now you start your walk. I have my 3 tap to 3 correction rule. So for finding the working number, tap, 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 no response, bump it. Tap, 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 no response, bump it. That's essentially what we did earlier, right? And sometimes if I wasn't sure, I just repeated another 3. Then I have my 3 correction rule, which is every time you turn and tap, that is 1 correction. So if I'm at 20 to start, and it's turn and tap, turn and tap, turn and tap, relatively quickly, 23. Normally I would do 25, but because she's so sensitive, you can do 23. Turn and tap, turn and tap, turn and tap, doesn't work, 26. And you keep doing that, and eventually you might hit 33. And as soon as you tap her, boom. And now you're walking for like 20 minutes, no problem. It's super obvious, okay? Because dogs learn this concept very easily. It's very quick. It's just a matter of what number is going to get her to respect the positioning despite the environment or despite the stimuli, right? So she should be great at 20 with nothing going on, and then you see a dog and you might have to go to 45. Like, I don't know, we're going to figure all that stuff out, right? But that's my structure, is every 3 taps or every 3 corrections, you raise your number in increments of around 3, okay? So like, let's say every time you walk, you always end up at like 33. Next week, I'll ask you like, how was you? Like, Jesse, every time we hit 33 on the collar, she was perfect for the rest of the walk. And I go, okay, then we just start at 33 now. We don't start at 15 anymore, or 8, right? Because we've learned consistently every single walk, we always end at 33, and that's when she's at her best behavior, then that's when I'm gonna start off at. Because the dogs will take from 8 to 33 to do whatever they want, and then once you hit 33, they're like, okay, now I'm gonna listen. Does that make sense? So this week is gonna be a lot of research, a lot of just figuring out what does she need, what is her level, and what's her sensitivities. And 33 might be great for the obedience, but not work for the reactivity, okay? And this is all stuff that we just kind of figure out as we go along. Questions about any of this?
So to find the working number, we would be in a calm position like this, not walking.
Correct.
Okay.
So the reason why we find the working number, so first you find the working number, but then as you're walking, you would find the new working number, right? Because, yes, because being stationary is different than when you're walking, right? Because the walking, for some dogs, as soon as you take a step, they're just like impulsive, right? So then we got to find the number to override when they're in motion. But it's easiest to do it when you're stationary because it's super obvious. And then you start the process, okay? Other questions? Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's switch handlers here. Yeah, so you're gonna loop the leash over your thumb. the handle.
Wait.
Handle over your thumb, like
Yes,
that,
yes,
yep.
yes.
And then you're gonna take up about a foot of slack. So go ahead and give her some slack.
Yep.
Give her some more, a little bit more. Right there, and you're gonna wrap it around your finger, and then bring your fingers around it. Almost.
Just your index finger.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that, perfect,
okay.
okay? And then remote in the right hand.
Oh. The bumpy one is big.
Yes, the bumpy one, okay? And then for the dial, clockwise goes up,
Yep.
counterclockwise goes down. Forward, and relax. There you go. Just keep forward, yep. And going to slow turn. Good, and going to pick up your, keep walking, pull to your left, tap, good.
Oh, 10%.
Well, too late now.
Oh.
Now, relax your arm. Relax your right arm. There you go, like that. Good. Good. Slow turn. Good. Go ahead and speed up a little. Tap,
Yeah.
tap.
Yeah.
There you go. Good. See how she came to the left leg there?
So I guess I'm focusing. Oh, my turn.
Slow turn to your right.
So what was the tap for?
Because she was lagging.
She was what?
Turn,
Oh,
tap. There you go. Good. So those initial slow turn, those initial taps
Yep.
were because she was lagging too far behind.
okay.
Okay, so we wanted her to walk at your side. Turn, tap, tap. It's okay. Keep forward, keep forward, keep forward. Good. Keep forward, keep forward. There you go. Good. Slow turn. Good. So keep forward. If you get a reaction like that and you're like at 8, just keep going, okay? Because if you stop, it allows her, relax, slow turn, okay? Is when you stop when she panics, it allows her to become more engaged with the panicness, okay? If you just keep going, her brain has to redirect. Dogs can only do one thing at a time. Go in a slow turn. So she's either gonna be freaking out and panicking, or she's gonna be walking next to you, okay?
Yeah.
Turn, tap. There you go, good. And slow turn, good. Go ahead and pick up your pace. Good, and slow turn. Right, keep forward and slow walk. Go ahead and pick up your speed. Tap,
Yeah.
tap, tap. Go in a slow turn. Good. And then bring the leash so that's on the inside. See how it's kind of on the outside? Yep. Keep moving. There you go. And you want to get used to doing this stuff as you're moving. Okay? Good. And slow turn. Now slow walk, tap. Good. Keep forward. Stop. Good. That's okay. Good. Forward. Good. Slow turn. Pull to your left. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Tap. Tap. Good. And then relax. Good. Yep. Leash on the inside. Good. Going to pick up your pace a little. Good. And slow turn. Good. Tap, tap, tap. Good. Yeah, slow walk, keep forward. Slower, and stop. Okay, bring your leash on the inside, and then up, and then relax. Good. So we're gonna talk about that real quick. When Corey over there, and relax. When you opened the door, and you were turning, and she was like, "What's that?" And you did 3 tap, right? And on the third one, she was, oh, and then kind of ran to your leg. That's the energy I'm looking for, okay? So we need a sense of urgency, you can recognize urgency through quick movement. Okay, so if like she's sniffing something, I go tap and it goes vroom, right? She just runs to my side. That means whatever number I just used was like, whoa, I better do something, right? But if I'm like tap, 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 and she's still smelling and she's taking her sweet time, then clearly there's no urgency there, okay? Urgency is important because, well, if she's moving very quickly and she's like, oh, I want to get this done, it means it's important, because if it's not important, she's not going to do it, okay? So what we're trying to do is make you more important than the discomfort she feels when she sees the dog. That's the theory here, okay? So we want to see, what does this fix, what does it not fix, okay? Because she has to have a baseline. Plus, it's also getting her used to this. So the reason why we always teach heel, one, leash pulling is like one of the most common things people want to fix. Two, when it comes to reactivity, it's related to the reactivity, because if I'm correcting her for lunging and barking, she has to have a reference point. And the reference point is, come back to my side, okay? Also, it's something that you do multiple times a day, every day. You got to take her out the potty, right? So it allows you to practice the e-collar consistently, repeatedly, every single day, okay? Because if we practice, let's say, come when called first, you might only get 3 chances to practice come when called a week, because you have to go somewhere to practice that, right? So it's not going to expose her. Lightly pull up on your leash, tap, yep, tap, 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 keep pulling up, tap, 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 tap.
Should I just say
Go up
up
on,
or
no, go on your, go to 11.
Yeah.
Tap, 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 14. There we go. And then relax, wait a moment. Pull to your left, then up again, right? Good, and you can go down to like 9. Good. So right here, when you come to a stop, Psylocke is now gonna always sit. We create that sitting motion by pulling up and then tapping. We went 8, 11, 14. And then she moved a bit more, that's fine. But as she gets conditioned, you're gonna start to see her automatically sit, okay? So the reason why I wouldn't say up or sit, even if she already knows it, is you wanna use the collar as much as possible. The more you use it, the faster she toughens up, okay? So I'm very generous with my remoting. You get a tap, everybody gets a tap, okay? Somebody gets it. So then, very generous with it, okay? So, have you ever been skydiving?
No.
Can you agree that it's probably gonna be stressful,
Yes.
right? If you go skydiving once a year, you'll get comfortable with it, but it's gonna take a long time. If you go skydiving once a month, faster. Go skydiving once a week, faster. Every day, even faster, because you're constantly exposing yourself to jumping out that plane. Same thing here. E-collar is a stressor. I get it. So the more you expose her to the stressor, the faster she's going to get over it, the tougher she's going to get. But the way this works is now Psylocke has to do math.
Yeah.
And she thinks, okay, dog is approaching. I don't like that. I go into stress, become reactive. But now this is a real thing that she feels. So she's like, do I risk becoming reactive and this popping off, or I don't do anything and see what happens here? Okay. So let's say, so what we're gonna do now for the week is, as best you can, confront reactivity. Okay, so it's usually sidewalk, grass, curb, right? Is you're gonna step off to the curb, okay, facing the sidewalk, and then you're gonna shorten your leash. So go in with your leash here, you're gonna take up that slack, right, and then lock your leash. Lock it. So, kind of like with the finger thing that you did earlier, but higher up. So around your thumb, yep, choke all the way up, even more.
So I do it twice.
A little bit less? A little bit less?
Or less.
No, you were correct the first time.
Oh, okay.
Now we'll do it to wrap around your finger, like that. Now relax, okay? So if Psylocke blows up, she only has 6 inches of space, okay? So she's not gonna get far. Or if you have to stop her, you wanna always pull straight up. So pull up. See how quick that was? Now go ahead and give the slack back. Yep, now pull up again. See how high you have to go? Give more slack. Give more slack. Yep, now pull up. You see that, right? So that's what a lot of people do is when they react. I've seen people on like the street be like this, and the dog's like 6 feet in front of them. Now I'm like, just choke up on the leash, right? So here, because you know this might not go well, you're stepping aside, you're taking all that slack, but you're not gonna be tense. You want to be relaxed.
Okay. So still, it's gonna be, she's gonna be at the side.
Mm-hmm. But with
My arm's not gonna tense, but I know I'm gonna want to tense and pull up.
you want to be like this, okay? So then what you're doing is you're telling Psylocke, we're going to see dogs, okay? Now trainers will tell you, don't do this because it puts dogs under too much stress. I'm like, the dogs are stressed anyways. We got to deal with it some way, one way or another, right? But this puts you at the greatest advantage because she's not going to get far. You have more physical leverage. The closer you are to the collar, the more physical leverage you have. The further away she is on the leash, the more leverage she has, okay? So when I shorten it, if she blows up, you're just gonna go straight up. Not back, not up and back, straight up, okay? Up de-escalates the brain. Back and back escalate the brain. So let's say you're at 15, right, on the walk, you step aside, you choke your leash, this is gonna happen. Your responsibility is Psylocke. Eyes on Psylocke. If you start to see her like amp up a little bit, right, you can tap there, and then maybe she just does this, like kind of like earlier, and the dog passes, perfect, okay? If she blows up, and don't worry about like trying to control her, it's just up to contain as you tap to see if she will de-escalate, okay?
So when we have seen dogs, she will try to get behind me.
Okay.
And try to like fly.
Yep.
One way to say that she's like flying.
Yes.
You know?
So
we're holding it like at such a tight leash, and then she's trying to like escape backwards.
So what you're gonna do is you want to contain her. So she's wanting to move away. So we have fight, flight, avoidance, submission. Okay. Since she's on a leash, that removes two options technically, submission and avoidance. So it's gonna be fight and flight. Okay, so if she's lunging and barking, that's flight. If she's going backwards, that's flight. You're trying to teach her there's nothing to run from. Okay, so if she starts to buck backwards, you pull up, because up de-escalates everything. Anxiety, fear, nervousness, aggression, it just de-escalates the brain. So the instinct is always still pull up, but if she's trying to pull back behind you, I would pull up and forward, okay? Just enough to direct her where to go in tapping. And you're probably gonna get a bigger reaction because the brain is going, no, 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 no. And you're saying, I know, but you gotta do it, right? And eventually she's gonna get over that and she's gonna go, holy crap, I did it, right? And she's gonna be like, nothing happened either, aside from the collar. Nothing happened to the dog, right? And then we keep repeating that. Eventually, you might see her kind of get a little bit uncertain, but the dog's gonna pass and she's gonna know, oh, that went too bad. Right? But we need something to counter her, and that's where that comes into play. Okay? But remember, if you try that this week and you feel like it's getting worse, let it go. Okay? Just pull up and contain. Let this happen. And then once it's done, relax, give back the slack, continue your walk.
So if it gets too much, we're still camping?
No, you would stop.
You would stop.
You determine this, okay? Because me, I'll work through it, but I've been doing this for 10 years. For you, if you get overwhelmed or feel like, I don't know if I'm making this better or worse, your best bet is just lay off the remote and just pull up and contain until the situation is passed. Relax, reset your leash, start your walk again, okay? You're not gonna get 100% successes, right? Because you got to get used to the collar, you got to get used to these mechanics, relaxing your leash, not tensing up, going up higher in the remote, controlling your dog and turning up the remote here. There's a lot of stuff going on, right? If you try to work through it, let's say I'm at 25 and she's still blowing up and barking or whatever it is she's doing, and I go, well, that didn't work well. So the next time I wouldn't be at 25, I'd be at 28. You're built. If it didn't work the first time, probably not going to work the second time. So I just jump a little bit higher than that. Typically, I go in jumps of 5 or 10 because I'm trying to stop it immediately. But because of her sensitivity, I'm going to tell you to go in jumps of 3-ish. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So earlier, you went 8, 11, 14. If she was another dog, I would have been 10, 15, 20.
Sure.
Does that make sense? And if I get a really tough dog, it's 10, 20, 30.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going by the personality type. Okay? Other questions?
So as she's reacting, we're pressing the button, but then her way of showing us that she's not reacting anymore, she's not jumping, she's not lunging. If she's still yelping, do you still tap?
No.
Okay.
If the behavior we're wanting to stop stops, we lay off the pressure. Because pressure on when we need her to do something, or stop doing something, pressure off when she complies.
Okay. So she could still potentially be vocal, but if she's not pulling on her leash, we lay off the pressure.
Was she being vocal in response to the dog, or is she being vocal?
Dog. Why didn't I touch you with that?
Pull up on your leash, and then relax. Good. You might get kind of like a residual anxiety where the dog is contained, but and being vocal in response to stress, but not the dog. Okay? Does that make sense? Like she's not moving back. She's more so like vocalizing because of the situation. Is that I would let that go. Okay? So some dogs, they won't lunge and bark, but they'll start whining. And I'll say, ignore that for now, and we're gonna see if it goes away on its own. Because the dog has to have some kind of outlet. Okay? And sometimes it goes away on its own. Sometimes the dogs keep whining and then they go, we gotta correct that. Okay? So if she were to have residual vocalness, but it's kind of, if you feel like it's not towards the dog or anything, and it's more so just because of the situation, and all that stress that she's feeling has to go somewhere, then we don't tap that. Okay? Because she has, it's like if you're sad and you're crying and someone's like, stop crying. Like you gotta get it out. You know what I'm saying? So same thing here. As long as we're not getting any kind of aggressive response to the dog or too much flightiness, I'll let it go. And if you're not sure, just ignore it. And then you let me know and I'll help you kind of figure out what to do next. Okay? So your homework for the week is to do this exercise. When you walk with Psylocke, you want to potty break, find your working number, start your walk. Remember to give her slack. You use slack when you have nice open space. Okay? When we see dogs, we step aside, face inwards, shorten your leash, keep an eye on Psylocke. Don't get tunnel vision, because sometimes people go like, oh, you're stepping aside to my dog and say hi, right? I'm like, no, we're stepping aside because we don't want to say hi, right? So if you see someone approaching like this, look up, no, we don't want to say hi, we're training or whatever it is, okay? They keep going, she doesn't blow up, perfect, okay? If we start to see her becoming reactive, you can remote for anything that looks like she's escalating.
Like squirrels.
Okay, squirrels, sure, okay. And in terms of how much you practice a day, 3 20-minute walks a day, it works really well. Dogs learn better in smaller chunks. So if you do 3 20-minute walks a day, it's enough for her to practice and like kind of process what's going on. You can give her a little bit of slack here. If you were to step aside and she were to lay down, you would want to correct her back into a sitting position. Okay?
Because we're on a walk, because we're working.
Because we're working.
Okay.
Also because if you let her lay down, you have to give slack.
Sure.
So then if she decides to be reactive or move or something, she has that much more leash to do so. Okay? So this week, 3 20-minute walks, you can do more. If all you have is 1 solid hour, that's fine as well. But the moment you start this exercise, she is meant to walk at your side. The off switch for this, we use the word break. Okay, break means your job is done. So let's say you're walking with her, she's done great, you come to a stop and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna let you sniff and pee and poop.
Yeah.
Up, tip, there we go, good. Is you would stop, she would sit first, you would wait, break, and then you lead her to the grass and Psylocke can sniff, pee, roll around, sniff the ground, have a cigarette, I don't care. She's on her own time.
Yeah.
Don't let your dog smoke. And then once you're ready to go, you start walking, tap, back to your hip. We're good. Okay?
Okay. So just to clarify, so as we see another dog approaching, we stop walking. And so
Step aside.
So say step aside. Mm-hmm. So say if they're on the opposite side of the street, I'm facing her.
Will she react to that?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask that. So she is so reactive to dogs, we don't even, because Kristen can't fully control Psylocke when she gets crazy.
Sure.
So we don't even get close. If we see a dog coming, we turn around. Like, don't get near dogs.
Sure. So play it by ear, because chances are she might not even see it. Because since it's across the street, it would be one of the things I would consider is one of the first parts of reactivity to go away.
Okay.
because it's a spectrum. So it's usually human reactivity, calm dogs, excited dogs, and then other reactive dogs or sudden run-ins with dogs would be end of spectrum. So the distance should make all, and plus now she's getting corrected and stuff. I would expect that that would be the first thing to go away, okay? But you guys will let me know, okay? So do attempt these things, and if it becomes overwhelming or if you feel like, man, it's not getting better, then go back to what you're doing and avoid or whatever. And the next time you come back, we're gonna just build on stuff, okay? But the more you kind of just put yourself in that situation, you're gonna come back and be like, hey, Jesse, it was 50% progress. And then I'm like, where was she reactive? These situations, I go, cool. And we just kind of build on that, okay?
Yeah, because in the past, she'll actually be reactive to dogs in fenced-in yards or even inside
Yeah.
houses.
Yep.
So it's not,
She's gotten better with houses though.
regardless, as long as it's
Yeah,
dogs.
and that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
And that's like end of spectrum too. Now, what's nice about dogs behind fences is because it's controlled context, is you can repeat that.
Sure.
Okay, so once we get to that stage, that's something that you can utilize. Because her being reactive to a dog barking behind a fence and a dog barking on a leash, it's the same thing, right? Her behavior is the same, it's just the context is different. So I'll tell my clients, like, use that to your advantage to set a foundation. So when you come across it on leash or whatever, it's easier to correct because she's already done it before.
For sure.
Okay?
No, that makes perfect sense. I was just commenting to your distance thing.
Sure.
We just had a walk like last weekend, I think, where there was a dog like a block away on the other side of the street and she freaked out.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Still reacts.
Yeah, and if you would see that, do the same concept
Okay.
of, and it's easiest. And yeah, you can come to a stop, shorten your leash, let that dog walk. Good job, excellent. We keep walking, give that slack back, okay? So it was a pleasure meeting everybody again. If you have any questions, let me know. You can email me at the email I emailed you at. And then otherwise, we'll see how, and actually if you can, before the next time I see you, shoot me an email and let me know how she's doing with this. If you're like, hey, yeah, she's getting much better with the e-collar, great, we just continue like normal. Otherwise, if she's still like a bit too sensitive, I'll just start thinking about how we're gonna address the issue and then just plan on having something super high value, maybe a mixture of things, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, guys.